House will please return to order. Clerk will please report the next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2024 Budget Bill, making appropriations of public money out of the Treasury in accordance with Section 51, Article 6 of the Constitution.
Ladies and gentlemen, this bill was advanced to third reading with the right to amend and amendments pending. We'll have the bill explained first, then take amendments. Chair recognizes the gentleman at 12 to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good afternoon. The governor's initial general revenue estimate was $4,884 million. With the adjustment letter received on March 1st, the revenue estimate was increased to $772,326. Four bills resulted in a reduction of annual available general revenue, most notably the personal income tax reduction, House Bill 2526. This created an available spend of $4,643,300,000 in general revenue for fiscal year 2024. The actual expenditures in the committee substitute totaled $4,641,392,371. This would leave an unappropriated balance in the state's state fund general revenue of $1,407,629. This bill does not contemplate pay raises for state employees. We will go item by item in Section 1 of the budget to explain the changes. As we go through this bill, we will refer to the item numbers and not the page numbers. Item 1, the West Virginia State Senate. There are no changes from the governor's introduced budget bill. $5,952,206. Item 2, West Virginia House of Delegates. No changes. $9,904,031. Item 3, the Joint Committee for the Legislature. No changes. The amount available is $10,240,457. Item 4, Supreme Court. Line 6, the judge's retirement system was reduced by $408,000 due to the adjustments made by the Consolidated Pensions Board. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $155,221,601. The committee substitute appropriates $149,079,448. The net reduction in this item was $6,142,153. Item number 5, Governor's Office. There was no change to that. The total is $6,403,753. Item 6 is the Custodian Fund for $584,579. Item 7 is the Civil Contingent Fund. The Milton Flood Wall for $3.5 million in line 1 was moved to the surplus section. Section 7 totaled $5 million. Total for the governor's general revenue budget, general introduced budget was $11,988,337. House committee substitute is $7,106,702. The net difference is $4,881,630. Auditor's Office, no changes. The governor's introduced was $2,589,211. The committee substitute appropriates $2,487,115. The net reduction was $102,096. In the Treasurer's Office, the governor's introduced budget was $3,589,165. The committee substitute appropriates $3,514,380, a net reduction of $74,785. In the Department of Agriculture, the governor's introduced budget was $13,374,324. The committee substitute appropriates $12,906,141. The net reduction was $468,183. For the Conservation Agency, the governor's introduced budget was $11,440,866. The committee substitute appropriated $11,228,779. The net reduction was $212,087. The Department of Agriculture Meat Inspection Fund, there were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $1,129,233. The committee substitute appropriates $1,084,955. The net reduction in this item was $44,278. Item 13, the Department of Agriculture, Agricultural Awards Fund, no change. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $54,250. The committee substitute appropriated the same amount. Department of Agriculture, West Virginia Agricultural Land Protection Authority, no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $106,786. The committee substitute appropriated $103,523. The reduction was $3,263. The Attorney General, item 15, there were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $555,911. The committee substitute appropriated $5,203,194. The net reduction in this item was $352,717. Secretary of State, item 16. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $943,230. The committee substitute appropriated the same amount. Item 17. State election commissions, no change. The governor introduced budget appropriated $75,008, and the committee substitute appropriates the same amount. Item 18, the Department of Administration Office Secretary. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $15,618,550. The committee substitute appropriated $15,603,867. The net reduction was $14,683. Item 19, Consolidated Public Retirement Board. This item only contains directive language and there are no changes. Item 20, Division of Finance. The governor's appropriated budget, introduced budget appropriated $795,448. The committee substitute appropriated $773,423. The net effect was a reduction of $22,025. Item 21, the Division of General Services. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $28,056,975. The committee substitute appropriates $27,906,883. The net effect reduction is $150,092. Item 22, the Division of Purchasing. The governor's introduced budget was appropriated at $1,120,799. The committee substitute appropriated $1,081,298. The net reduction was $39,501. Item 23, Travel Management. The governor appropriated in his budget $1,304,861. The committee substitute appropriated $1,282,021. The net reduction is $22,840. Commissions on Uniform State Laws. No changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $45,550, and the committee substitute appropriated the same amount. Item 25, Public Employees Grievance Board. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $1,187,597. The committee substitute appropriated $1,154,968. The net effect reduction was $32,629. Item 26, Ethics Commission. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $756,142. The committee substitute appropriated $737,544. The net reduction was $18,598. Item 27, Public Defender Services. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $37,261,048. The committee substitute appropriates $37,181,108. The net reduction was $79,940. Item 28, Committee for the Purchase of Commodities and Services from the Handicap. There were no changes. The governor introduced the budget, appropriated $4,055. The committee substitute appropriates the same amount. Item 29, Public Employees Insurance Agency. This item had one line in the governor's introduced budget for PEI subsidy for $80 million. This item has been moved to position 1 in the surplus section, and so item 29 now has a zero fiscal note. Item 30, Prosecuting Attorneys Institute. There were no changes. The governor introduced a budget of $259,230. The committee substitute appropriated $252,704. The net effect reduction was $6,526. Item 31, Real Estate Division. The governor's introduced appropriation was $882,642. The committee's substitute appropriates $854,255. The net reduction was $28,387. Item 32, Division of Forestry. The governor's introduced budget was $5,893,969. The committee substitute appropriated $5,668,445. The net reduction was $225,824. Item 33, Geological and Economic Survey. The governor's introduced budget was $3,074,779. The committee substitute appropriates $2,980,156. The net reduction was $94,623. Item 34, Division of Labor. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $1,956,899. The committee substitute, $1,885,116. The net reduction is $71,783. Item 35, Division of Natural Resources. Line 5 for the current expenses were increased by $54,000 to account for the changes in House Bill 3233 to the DNR officers' retirement provisions. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $30,378,059. The committee substitute appropriates $27,782,822. The net reduction was $2,595,237. Item 36, Division of Minors Health, Safety, and Training. There are no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $12,064,063. The committee substitute appropriated $11,744,301. The net reduction of this item is $319,762. Item 37, the Board of Coal Mine Health and Safety. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $368,176. The committee substitute appropriates $361,650. The net reduction is $65,26. Item 38, Workforce, West Virginia. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $58,473, and the committee substitute appropriated the same amount. Item 37, Department of Commerce, Office of the Secretary. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $1,934,685. The committee substitute appropriated $1,882,479. The net reduction of in this item was $52,206. Item 40, Division for Rehabilitative Services. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $15,823,206. The committee substitute appropriates $15,340,300. The net reduction was $482,906. Item 41, Department of Tourism. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $7 million, and the committee substitute appropriated the same amount. Item 42, Department of Economic Development. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $12,288,556. The committee substitute appropriated $12,147,273. The net reduction was $141,283. Item 43, State Board of Education, School Lunch Program. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $2,488,798. The committee substitute appropriated $2,479,009. The net reduction was $9,789. Item 44, the State Department of Education. Line 15 for the math program was increased by $50,000. Directive language is added to the item to send this amount to the Math Counts program. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $142,818,900. The committee substitute appropriated $142,450,106 for the net reduction of $368,794. Item 45, State Board of Education Aid for Exceptional Children. Line 1 for the special ed counties were increased by $154,000 to account for the bill, House Bill 3293, which pertained to dyslexia and dyscalculia. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $34,050,530. The committee's substitute appropriated $33,383,590. The net reduction was $666,940. Item 46, school aid to the schools. Line 16 was increased by $250,000 due to the passage of House Bill 2346 for retired school bus operators. House Bill 2380 eliminated the need to pass the school building authority money through the Department of Education, so that amount from line 17 was moved to a new item in item 47. The governor's introduced appropriation was $1,937,289,016. The committee substitute appropriated $1,798,780,265. The net reduction was $138,508,751. Item 47, School Building Authority. This is a new item only has one line, and that the amount that still gets transferred to the School Construction Fund, which is a special revenue account. The governor introduced an appropriation of $66,500,000. $42.5 million of that was moved to the position 2 in the surplus section, leaving $24 million in this item. State Board of Education, line 48, Vocational Division. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $41,024,847. The committee substitute appropriated $40,939,685. The net reduction was $85,162. Item 49, West Virginia Schools for the Deaf and Blind. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $15,382,221. The committee substitute appropriated $15,021,801. The net reduction in this item was $360,420. Items 50 through 52 pertain to the Department of Arts, Cultural, and History. Item 50, the line 11 for educational enhancements was increased by $800,000. Directive language was added, sending $500,000 to the Save the Children and $300,000 to the Bob Burdette Foundation. Both of those organizations support after-school programs. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $5,119,129. The committee substitute appropriated $5,745,479. This is an increase of $626,350. Item 51, Library Commission. The governor's introduced budget was appropriated of $1,599,485. The committee substitute appropriates $1,557,068. The net reduction in this item was $42,417. Item 52, Educational Broadcast Authority. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was appropriated at $4,195,437. The committee substitute appropriated $4,055,133, with the next reduction of being $140,304. Item 53, Environmental Quality Board. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $126,060. Committee substitute appropriated $119,534, with a net reduction of $6,526. Item 54, the Division of Environmental Protection. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $6,782,398. The committee substitute appropriated $6,586,199. The net reduction in this item was $196,199. Item 55, Air Quality Board. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $76,053. The committee substitute appropriates the same amount. Item 56, Department of Health and Human Services, Office of the Secretary. The governor's introduced budget was $681,780. The committee substitute appropriated $673,296. The net reduction was $8,484. Item 57, Division of Health Central Offices. Line 45, maternal and child health clinics, clinicians, medical contracts and fees increased to $6,242,965. This incorporates the fiscal note for House Bill 2002, Support for Families, which passed the House of $337,551. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $80,005,964. The committee substitute for this appropriation, $77,763,267, for a net reduction of $2,242,697. Item 58, Consolidated Medical Services Fund. The governor's introduced budget was $231,023,893. The committee substitute appropriated $226,972,222. The net reduction in this item was $4,051,671. Item 59, West Virginia Drinking Water Treatment. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $647,500. The committee substitute appropriated the same amount. Item 60, Human Rights Commission. The governor's introduced budget was $1,510,946. The committee substitute appropriated $1,462,003. The net reduction in this item was $48,943. Item 61, Division of Human Services. Line 33 is increased by $510,000 to incorporate the fiscal note from House Bill 2538, which passed the House for the development of an online portal, support, foster placement, and kinship placement. The governor's introduced budget was $846,387,409. The committee substitute appropriated $842,404,154. The net reduction in this item was $3,983,255. The total budget in the House Committee substitute is for HHR is $1,149,922,442. Homeland Security, item 62, Office of the Secretary. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $4,210,965. The committee substitute was $3,948,499. The reduction in this item was $202,466. Item 63, Division of Emergency Management. The governor's introduced bill was $6,390,047. The committee substitute appropriates $6,254,637. The net reduction in this item is $135,410. Item 64, Division of Corrections and Rehabilitation, West Virginia Parole Board. The governor's introduced budget was $1,428,373. The committee substitute appropriates $1,395,744. The net reduction in this item was $32,629. Item 65, Division of Corrections and Rehabilitation. The introduced budget was appropriated at $382,240. The committee substitute appropriates $378,977, a net reduction of $3,263. Item 66, Division of Corrections, Rehabilitation, Correctional Units. The governor's introduced bill was $293,968,729. The committee substitute appropriates $288,898,219, with a reduction in this item of $5,070,510. Item 67, Bureau of Juvenile Services. There were no changes. The governor's introduced bill was $47,051,077. The committee substitute appropriated $45,406,587. The net reduction in this item was $1,644,491. Item 68, the West Virginia State Police. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $127,111,573. The committee substitute appropriated $124,251,820. The net reduction in this item was $2,859,753. Item 69, the Fire Commission, was unchanged. The governor's introduced appropriation was $63,061. The committee substitute appropriated the same amount. Item 70, Division of Protective Services. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $3,890,389. The committee substitute appropriated $3,737,034. The net reduction in this item was $153,355. Item 71, Division of Administrative Services, Criminal Justice Fund. The governor's introduced budget was $10,400,433. The committee substitute appropriated $10,358,341. The net reduction in this item was $42,092. Item 72, Division of Administrative Services. The governor's introduced budget was $6,086,610. The committee substitute appropriated $5,760,206. The net reduction in this item was $326,404. The total for Homeland Security budget was $490,453,125. Department of Revenue, item 73, Office of Secretary. The budget appropriated by the governor was $636,879. The committee substitute appropriated $623,827. The net effect down was $13,052. Item 74, Tax Division. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $30,903,263. The committee substitute appropriated $30,029,628 for a net reduction of $873,635. Item 75, the State Budget Office. The governor introduced bill appropriated $985,764. The committee substitute appropriated $947,796. The total reduction in this item was $37,968. Item 76, the Office of Tax Appeals. The governor introduced appropriation $1,189,720. The committee substitute appropriates $1,173,406. The net reduction in this item was $16,314. Item 77, the State Athletic Commission. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $36,811. The committee substitute appropriates the same amount. These items are a newly created division, modal transportation facility, for which the consolidation of the State Rail Authority, Public Transit, and the Aeronautics Commission, which were in last year's bill, House Bill 4492. Item 78, the State Rail Authority. The governor introduced budget was $2,139,760. The committee substitute appropriates $2,129,971. The net reduction is $9,789. Item 79, Public Transit. The governor's introduced budget was $2,292,989. The committee substitute appropriates the same amount. Item 80, Aeronautics Commission. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $832,694. The committee substitute appropriates $826,168. The net effect reduction is $65.26. The total for Department of Transportation in the general revenue section is $5,249,128. Item 81, Department of Veterans Assistance. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $12,261,037. The committee substitute appropriates $10,906,945. The net reduction in this item was $1,354,092. Item 82, Veterans Home. There were no changes. The governor introduced budget appropriated $1,711,322. The committee substitute appropriates $1,546,889. The net reduction in this item was $164,733. Item 83 is the Bureau of Senior Services, transferred to the Division of Human Services for Health Care and Title 19 waiver for senior citizens. The introduced budget appropriated $10,839,825 for that line and did not change in the committee's substitute. Item 84 through 93 are the community and technical college systems. Item 84 is called the control account. Line 4, community college workforce development was increased by $310,000 in accordance with House Bill 3417, which includes Potomac State in the Learn to Earn program. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $15,821,228. The committee substitute appropriated $16,114,928. The net increase was $293,700. Item 85, Mount West Community and Technical College. There were no changes. The governor's appropriation it is introduced was $6,940,235. The committee substitute appropriated $6,716,176. The net reduction in this item was $224,059. Item 86, New River Community and Technical College. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $6,343,922. The committee substitute appropriated $6,088,539. The net reduction in this item was $255,353. Item 87, Pierpoint College, Community and Technical College. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $8,420,253. The committee substitute appropriated $8,119,152 for a net reduction of $301,100. Item 88, Blue Ridge Community and Technical College. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $8,470,541. The committee substitute appropriated $8,139,835. The net reduction in this item was $330,706. Item 89, WVU at Parkersburg. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $11,270,884. The committee substitute's appropriation was $10,799,686. The net reduction was $471,198. Item 90, Southern West Virginia Community and Technical College. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $8,906,898. The committee substitute appropriated $8,557,086. The net reduction in this item was $349,812. Item 91, West Virginia Northern Community and Technical College. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $7,864,519. The committee substitute appropriates $7,580,697. The net reduction in this item was $283,082. Item 92, Eastern West Virginia Community and Technical College. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $2,366,588. The committee substitute appropriates $2,264,340. The net effect reduction was $102,248. Item 93, Bridge Valley Community and Technical College. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $8,681,302. The committee substitute appropriates $8,364,587. The net reduction in this item is $316,715. Items 94 through 107 are all part of the higher education policy. Item 94 is an administration control account. Line 14, nursing scholarships and workforce transfer in a new line of appropriation. House Bill 3192 abolishes the Center for Nursing and transferred the duties to the HEPC. The fiscal note stated at a cost of the general revenue of $552,200. Line 15, the dual enrollment program, is a new item of appropriation for $4,200,000 for the program created in House Bill 2005. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $74,325,993. The committee substitute appropriates $1,483. The net increase for this item was $4,675,490. Item 95, West Virginia University School of Medicine. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $22,063,413. The committee substitute appropriated $21,488,856. The net reduction in this item was $574,557. Item 96, West Virginia University. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $116,475,682. The committee substitute appropriated $113,398,048. The reduction in this item was $3,077,634. Item 97, Marshall University of Medicine. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $9,268,471. The committee substitute appropriated $8,691,589. The net reduction in this item was $576,882. Item 98, Marshall University. $100,000 was moved from line 1, Marshall University, to create a new line 6, Marshall University Minority Health Institute. This did not result in a change in the item total. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $54,018,453. The committee substitute appropriates $51,547,701. The net reduction in this item was $2,470,752. Item 99, School of Osteopath Medicine. There were no changes. The governor introduced budget appropriated $6,167,822. The committee substitute appropriates $5,972,974. The net reduction in this item was $194,848. Item 100, Bluefield State College. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $6,896,271. The committee substitute appropriated $6,648,770. The net effect on the reduction is $247,501. Item 101, Concord University. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $11,235,643. The committee substitute appropriated $10,836,709. The net reduction in this item was $398,934. Item 102, Fairmont State University. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $20,095,933. The committee substitute appropriated $19,273,190. The net reduction in this item was $822,743. Item 103, Glenville State University. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $7,131,116. The committee substitute appropriates $6,768,535. The net reduction in this item was $362,581. Item 104, Shepherd University. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget appropriated $13,442,915. The committee substitute appropriated $13,026,830. The net effect reduction would be $416,085. Item 105, West Liberty University. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was $10,044,953. The committee substitute appropriated $9,952,600. The net effect in this item was $492,353 in reduction. Item 106, West Virginia State University. Line 3 was increased by $400,000 to allow West Virginia State University to receive its full one-to-one match from the federal government. The governor's introduced budget was $16,513,270. The committee substitute appropriation was $16,530,290. The net increase in this item was $17,020. Item 107, West Virginia NET. The governor's introduced budget for this appropriation was $1,884,202. The committee substitute appropriates $1,817,992. The net reduction in this item was $66,210. The last two items in the general revenue section are for the adjutant general, which you will find under miscellaneous boards and commissions. Item 108, the adjutant general. There is an increase in line 8, military authority, to incorporate the fiscal notes for House Bill 3233, uniform allowances for $427,500 and $400,000 for the HB 3254, which is the Woody Williams State Military Funeral Honor Guard Fund, both passed by the House. The governor's introduced budget was appropriated at $18,327,005. The committee's substitute appropriation is $18,799,242. The net increase in this item is $472,237. Item 109, military fund. There were no changes. The governor's introduced budget was appropriated at $157,775. The committee substitute appropriates the same amount. The total for boards and commissions miscellaneous was $5,249,128. With that, the total general revenue appropriation in the committee substitute for House Bill 2024 is $4,641,892,371. Section 2, the road fund. The state road fund is funded from revenues such as gasoline taxes, DMV fees, motor vehicle tax, salvage titles, and are deposited in the state road fund and dedicated to the maintenance, construction, improvements of state roads, and to be paid and to pay the principal balance interest due on state bonds for the fund. The total for the state road fund is $1,699,496,660. Section 3 is appropriation of other funds called special revenue accounts. Total for the special revenue is $3,098,500. Section 4, appropriation of lottery net profits. This section is comprised of net profits from the lottery, which goes to support projects within the state agencies like Promise Scholarship, Tourism, DNR, Board of Education, School Building Authority, Cultural and History. Lottery revenue total $143,669,012. Section 5 is from the state excess lottery funds. The excess lottery fund appropriation will be $334,670,790. Section 6, appropriation for federal funds. Federal funds total $9,415,135,878. Section 7 appropriates from federal block grants. Federal block grants are given to states for specific purposes but have less oversight to provide states more flexibility on how to spend in terms of design and implement projects. The federal block grant total is $237,514,492. Section 8, awards for claims against the state. Claims against the state. The House Bill 3344 approved the payment of moral obligations of the state. The governor had introduced appropriation of $760,000 for claims to be paid out of general revenue. The committee substitute reflects that the amount approved in House Bill 3344, which was $693,377. This is a net reduction of $66,623. Section 9 is the general surplus section. If there is a surplus in the General Revenue Fund at the end of fiscal year 23, the appropriations in this section are paid out in the order in which they appear. If the surplus revenue isn't sufficient to meet the appropriations, that means the appropriation at the end of the section would not be paid. Item 386, Public Employees Insurance Agency. This is an $80 million that was taken from item 29 in the front of the budget. The directive language was copied from that item to be so that the monies can be used for its intended purpose. Item 387, School Building Authority. This is the $42,500,000 that was taken from new line item 47. The directive language will ensure that these monies will be transferred to the School Construction Fund. Item 388, School of Osteopath Medicine. This is $29 million, was part of the surplus section in the governor's introduced budget bill. Item 389, Department of Tourism, Office of Secretary. This item includes $13 million for brand promotion and surplus, and $11,500,000 for industrial development surplus. Items 390 through 410, the governor's items that's sending $75 million to HEPC for capital outlay. Repairs and maintenance was removed and replaced with a $9 million going to community and technical colleges and another $200 million for four-year institutions. Item 411, the Economic Development Authority, Office of Secretary. This item is $110 million for direct transfer surplus that will be transferred to the Economic Development Project Fund. This is part of the introduced budget. Item 412, Higher Education Policy Commission. This item includes $20 million for the nursing program expansion support surplus, $10 million for EMS training program support. This is part of the introduced budget. Item 413, Department of Agriculture. This item consists of $1,700,000 for West Virginia Food Bank surplus. This was part of the introduced budget bill. Item 414, Adjutant General, State Militia. The Armory Board transfer is an appropriation which matches federal funds. This item gives the National Guard another $3,318,000 for that purpose. This was in the introduced budget bill. Item 415, Department of Revenue, Office of Secretary. This item consists of a $500 million transfer to the Personal Income Tax Reserve Fund to provide a buffer for the personal income tax reduction in House Bill 2526. This is a reduction of $200 million from the introduced budget bill. Item 416, Aeronautics Commission. This item provides $1 million to the current expense line surplus that was in the introduced budget bill. Item 417, Division of Corrections surplus. There is a $7 million appropriation of capital outlay and repairs and equipment surplus to help corrections with their deferred maintenance needs. This was in the introduced budget bill. Item 418, the Governor's Civil Contingent Fund. This is a $500,000 appropriation for civil contingent funds. This was in the introduced budget bill. Item 419, Department of Homeland Security, Office of Secretary. This is an $800,000 appropriation for current expenses. This was an introduced budget bill and is to be support of all for an interstate anti-drug initiative, anti-narcotics initiative. Excuse me. Item 420, Civil Contingent Fund. This is the $3.5 million for the Milton flood wall that was moved from item 7. Item 421, Department of Administration, Division of General Services. This is a $5 million appropriation for the renovation of Holly Grove Mansion that sits on the Capitol grounds. The total amount for the general revenue surplus in the introduced bill was $1,382,878,000. The total amount in the appropriated general revenue surplus in the committee substitute is $1,049,418,000. This amount is a reduction to the general revenue appropriations of $333,469,000. That is the bill, Mr. Speaker, and I urge passage.
You've heard the bill explained. This bill was advanced to third reading with the general right to amend and with some amendments pending. So let's take the amendments first. Clerk will please report the first of the amendments.
Delegate Criss moves to amend the bill.
Are there objections to having this amendment explained in lieu of having it read? If not, Chair will recognize the gentleman at 12th, Delegate Criss, to explain this amendment.
This amendment inserts the reappropriation language in supplementary appropriations for House Bill 2905, 2908, 2911, 2914, 29828, 3074 into next year's budget bill to ensure that the monies were appropriated for this year that has not been spent by the end of the budget year may continue to be spent next year's budget year for matching for the Division of Forestry Operations, Classroom Aid Program, Pregnancy Centers, Crime Victims, Multimodal Transportation Facilities, and matching funds for federal grants. I urge adoption.
Question is on the amendment just explained by the gentleman at 12th, Delegate Criss. Is there debate on this amendment? If not, those in favor of adoption of this amendment will please say aye. Aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares that amendment adopted. Clerk will please report the next amendment.
Delegate Rowe, Scaff, and others move to amend the bill.
Are there objections to having this amendment explained in lieu of having it read? Okay, if not, Chair will recognize the sponsors. Gentleman from the 52nd, Delegate Rowe.
I'm trying to make sure that I've matched up. This is 3-4, number 1.
Yes, sir.
This would be the Division of Environmental Protection. And all this does is to add $20 million for demolition of abandoned buildings. That's not the one? Mr. Speaker, I was on the wrong amendment. Apologize. This amendment actually has the provisions that we've talked a good bit in this body this year about the fact that we've spent a lot of money on economic development and we really haven't taken much money home. What this amendment would do is, if you, let's see, look on page 167, item 325. There is an appropriation of $1.3 billion to the governor's contingency fund. Let me give you that number again. $1.3 billion in this account item. And all I would propose that we do is the first line that says personal services, employee benefits, and it's something like $941 million at the top line. That would be changed to 641,932,089, and it would create a new item, the American Rescue Plan Low Income Assistance Program, $300 million. And you say, well, what are you going to do with that? On your desk, we put yesterday this yellow sheet that has all of the counties listed. The distribution would be to counties and to municipalities based upon their low income populations. You say, well, what would it be? Well, here we've got Berkeley County. The total population is 126,000 people. It would get a $12 million grant because it would have 4.17% of the overall number of low-income people in the state. Selecting another county, here's Brooke. It has 0.96, just under 1%. It would be an appropriation of $2,883,000, and I'm saying that wrong, $2.8 million. Let's do it that way. For Lincoln County, they have a population of 20,000 folks, and they would have 1.3% of the total population. Their award would be $4,093,000 and $596. McDowell has 18,000 folks. They've got 1.9% of the low-income population. They would get a grant of $5.8 million. Here is Mercer. They have 59,000 population. They would get a percentage of 3.57, and that would be, of the total $300 million, they would get $10 million there. And on the next page, you have the same sort of layout with the different counties. Here's Putnam County, 57,000 people. They would get $5.7 million because of their population of low income. So the idea is that we would be using ARPA funds, which come to us because of the coronavirus funding, and we would be using those for local grants in local areas, municipalities, counties, and so on. Now, the list here is just based on counties, but it would also go to municipalities for their low-income populations. Now, we had this, to my knowledge, is the only money that we can send locally to our local governments. And it's substantial. This is enough money to build recreational facilities, enough money to have different programs. I can think of a swimming center in my district that would be wonderfully funded. And it means that we would finally have something we could point to that we're taking home to our municipalities and counties. How much? $300 million. That doesn't even, that doesn't even reduce the governor's contingency fund by a whole lot, because in this one item, the governor is getting $1.3 billion, and we're only taking $300,000 of that for this. I think that it makes sense. It's something we could take home. It's not economic development money. It's not going to go, if it goes this way, it's not going to go into economic development funds. It's not going to be promised for an economic development project. It's going to be something local. You know, a lot of us have talked about how we can help our local governments, local control, local decision making. This is it. This amendment, and I urge you to adopt it, will do exactly those things, exactly what we've talked about. And it really is, let's be candid, it's time we did something for counties and municipalities. It feels like whack-a-mole sometimes whenever we just keep, you know, telling them what they can't do this, they can't do that. And this is something that we would provide funds to them. They would be able to react and to do good things for their locality. So I would urge the members to approve the amendment.
The question is on the amendment just explained by the sponsor. The gentleman from the 52nd, is there debate on the amendment? Gentleman from the 12th, Doug Criss.
Thank you to my good friend from the 52nd. I appreciate your offer, but I think we need to reject this, sir. The governor's office is actually trying to help some of the cities and counties, and we've got people, some of the municipalities are down to $100,000 and they can't spend it. They can't figure out what to do with it. And therefore it's going to get clawed back by the federal government. And by the way, this $300 million has to be appropriated, encumbered by December 31st, 2024. That's pretty fast time. And we don't think in that situation that it can be clawed back or be put out there in this method that quick. And therefore we could be on the verge of losing a good portion of these monies at this level. These are one-time monies. A lot of times when you look at some of the social programs that we have, that we're trying to do something with these, if they qualify under the ARPA law, you're going to have a problem because you're going to have these people out here working and all of a sudden there's no source of income. And you're going to have the local people, and you're going to have to raise taxes on the local level to pay these people. I don't know how many people are, I look around the room, I look at some white hairs. There will be some people in here that remember revenue sharing from the feds. And that was a great thing when it happened. And we built a park in Wood County called Mount Wood Park on revenue sharing. And guess what? The deal was, when you got it built, you're going to take care of it. And the county has to take care of it, and that's the obligation that the county has. Well, for about 40 years, the county's been burdened with trying to figure out a way how to pay for the maintenance, or the feds would come down on them and penalize them for not taking care of it. So that's what happens when you do this revenue sharing thing on a one-time basis. So I urge rejection of the gentleman's amendment. Thank you, sir.
The gentleman from the 54th, Delegate Pushkin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong support of the gentleman's amendment. This not only follows the letter of the law and the guidance that went along with the American Rescue Plan, this really follows the spirit of it. And it's true, it needs to be spent, or it will have to go back. The first batch of money that came through the coronavirus relief money, which came through us during the Trump administration, was the CARES Act. A lot of that money was sat on, didn't go where it was necessarily supposed to go. A lot of that had to go back. Some of it wound up having a truck giveaway, baby dog sweepstakes. That's how a large chunk of that money was spent. I've heard in here over the past earlier today, over the past few weeks, consternation about how we have been giving money to the Economic Development Office to give money to outside corporate interest to lure them into the state. I agree with some of that sentiment. This money is meant to help communities most impacted by the pandemic. If we don't spend it, it will have to go back. I've yet to hear of a plan that not just follows the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law on how to get this money to the folks who most need it. This is a plan. We got this plan the way we're supposed to get plans from constituents. They brought it to us. Some people who actually sat down, put pen to paper, came up with this plan, brought it to some of us. We listened to them, and we're presenting it to you now. It's a very unique opportunity. It's this once-in-a-generation money that we got. And the proposal from the governor is to give even more of it, I think $500 million, to the Economic Development Office. If we don't act, the money's going to go to the Economic Development Office at some point. Of course, we would have to approve it. There was a bill presented by the governor to do just that, and to the credit of the Finance Committee, they didn't run it. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's not how the money is supposed to be spent. But this is. And I hope you still have this on your desk. It's a breakdown of how much each county would get based on the percentage of your constituents that are living below the poverty level. This is what the money was meant for. It could help a lot of people. We've got a lot of problems in this state, and every one of them can be traced back to the fact that we're a very poor state. We got a lot of people in each and every one of our districts that are living below the poverty level. This is what the money was meant for. Help those most impacted by the coronavirus, to help our most vulnerable constituents. And quite frankly, there is no other plan. The only other plan we've heard from the governor is dump it all in the Economic Development Office. If you're against that, vote for this, because he's right. If it's not spent, it has to go back. I urge adoption of the amendment.
The gentleman from the 72nd, Delegate Rowley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise and urge rejection of the gentleman's amendment. So when we talk about ARPA dollars, we heard a similar theme last year when there was no plan. But this legislature then allocated $250 million of ARPA for water and sewer projects to the Economic Enhancement Grant Fund. There are proposals out there to continue to do that so that we can spend more money in infrastructure upgrades to my gentleman from the Wyoming, my friend. Counties and cities have already received $678 million directly as part of that program. They've had the opportunity to spend and invest in those communities, and therefore I urge rejection of the gentleman's amendment.
Is there further debate on the amendment? If not, the chair recognizes the gentleman from the 52nd Delegate Row to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. This is good debate, and what is left to the governor's contingency out of this fund is still over $1 billion. And the governor's going to have to get that money out, and what was the word? It wasn't committed, but basically it doesn't mean that the money has to be spent, but it means that there needs to be some plan and something in place and committed for the program. Now, again, there's just nothing like this. I mean, if you want to take some money home to your folks, where you make the decision. We heard people talking about central planning being inappropriate and not always the proper use of funds. This is not central planning. This is not getting a call from the governor's office saying we're going to put in some water lines for you. We want those calls from the governor's office. He's got $1 billion to still make those calls to your county. But these funds, only 300 million, to Berkeley County would be $12 million. Cabell County, $17 million. It looks like maybe, let's see, Fayette would be 7.9 million. Greenbrier, 1.6 million. Hampshire, 3.6 million. And it goes on. Hancock, 4.2 million. Harrison County, 9.5 million. 4 million for Lincoln. Logan, $7.5 million. McDowell, $5.8 million. Now, these are hard dollars to turn down, folks, particularly in smaller counties that have high populations of low-income folks. Marion County's $8.4 million, 4.9 million for Marshall County. It just keeps going here. Let's see here. Mingo would be 7.1 million. Monroe would be 1.8 million. Nicholas is 4.8 million. 6.1 million for Pendleton, which is a fairly small county. 6.1 million. That you could do a whole lot in smaller counties with $6 million. Raleigh would be $16.2 million. Randolph would be 4.9. Ritchie is 1.6 million. Let's see, and it sort of just keeps on going. 4 million, let's see, 4 million for Upshur. Wayne County would get $6.2 million. Wyoming County, $5.2 million. Now, these are enough funds to build something, to do something with. You could have a program if you want, but you could build a recreational center. And, you could perhaps even contribute the money to building a new school. But the point is each county gets to decide what they want to do with their money. And hopefully it would be money that would help low-income people, either directly or indirectly, but certainly recreational facilities would be something good. The alternative, just give $300 million more to the governor to spend. Instead of having $1 billion, he'll have $1.3 billion to spend. And you know and I know it's going to economic development. Now, I'm a big supporter of economic development. I want money to go there, but I think $1 billion is plenty. That's just plenty. Now, if it's going to go to water and sewer infrastructure, then hooray, that's money well spent. But I think you're going to see other funds being used for general economic development, and you're going to lose an opportunity, a unique opportunity. This may be the only opportunity you ever have as a legislator to send money like this back to your home counties. I really, really encourage you to think about how your county would be affected and what opportunities it will open up for your county. Now, I keep saying county. Understand that if you've got a major municipality municipalities, that they get their share of the funding, but it can be combined for an important project. I think it's just so much better than leaving $1.3 billion to the governor's contingency fund as opposed to $1 billion. This is our chance. This is the chance we have to help our local governments. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Roll call has been demanded. Is the demand sustained? The demand is sustained. All those in favor of adoption of the amendment will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. The yeas are 14, the nays are 80, 6 members absent and not voting. A majority of the members present not having voted in the affirmative, I declare the amendment rejected. Clerk will report the next amendment.
Delegates Rowe and Griffith move to amend the bill.
Is there objection to having the amendment explained in lieu of having it read? The chair hears none. The gentleman from the 52nd Delegate Road to explain the amendment.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important, very important amendment, and it appears on as a new line 386 on page 190 at the end of section 9. And it is at the back of the budget, basically, is what we refer to it as, so it would only be funded if we had surplus funds available. It's for safe schools. Now, the School Building Authority has indicated that they need they think about $85 million would allow us to upgrade all of the schools in West Virginia so that they would have safe entries, safe vestibules, and the electronics that would go with that, and also safe exit and entry doors outside of the vestibule area. Now, there is a $5 million, the budget has $5 million for safe schools in the Department of Education budget already, and that appears as item 44, page 34. So it's got $4.5 million there already. This basically would add to that and give us almost the $85 million that we need in order to assure that safe schools will be constructed, first evaluated and then constructed during the next not yet calendar year, and during the next budget year. This is a fairly reasonable amount. The Department of Education provided the House Finance Committee with a proposal to spend $247 million on this same program, but School Building Authority, which has architects and they know how to build things, and also they do it on a grant basis. In other words, the counties would apply and propose just like they would for a new school or a new school addition. They would apply, provide their plans. The architects for the School Building Authority would review it. They would determine what was appropriate and make a grant for it. And then the individual county boards would undertake the construction and completion of the safe schools. This is talk about one-time money. I can't think of anything more important than one-time money for safe schools. It is the governor has stepped up on the issue of safe schools. He appointed a school safety and security administrator and I think 6 assistant administrators in 6 different districts around the state to assess and determine what sort of needs we have for building the safe schools. But I haven't seen, other than the $4.5 million that's in the Department of Education budget up front, that's the only money I've seen. Now, maybe if somebody else can find some, hooray, but I don't think it's here. And I think that we need to approve this $80 million this amendment of $80 million for safe schools, and it would create it would be a new item 386. I think that it's something that we ought to do. We have one-time money. This is the time to do it. It's just fortunate that we have the funds that we've got available, and again, they need to be spent on one-time projects that will improve the safety of schools in West Virginia. Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Is there a debate on the amendment? The gentleman from the 12th, Delegate Criss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Homeland Security is currently working with regional officers for the School Safety and Security Division within the Homeland Security Division of Protective Services. This program is still largely in its early stage and will continue to improve as we work with the department. These officers will be making recommendations on their experiences and inspections of what we will make schools safer. We need to wait for these recommendations from law enforcement. The $80 million estimate came from the counties and the superintendents without law enforcement experience. And if the gentleman is successful in his amendment, he will place the rainy day, or the $80 million surplus item that we have set for number one position to Public Employees Insurance Agency out of the number one position. So I urge rejection of the gentleman's amendment.
The gentleman from the 27th, Delegate Griffith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is there anything you can think of more important than protecting our children? This will be of that surplus, less than 6% dedicated to the safety of our children. We have voted here to raise the contribution that our teachers are going to make to their insurance, and we're going to give them a raise. Well, I think school safety for students, faculty, and staff is at the top of a priority for a state that is looking for ways to improve economic development, attract business, get people to think favorably of our state. Can you imagine if we actually led the nation in a school or an education category, that we had the safest schools? And we can do that. Yes, that study's being done. If we dedicate this money, it'll be on a fast track. And I'll be curious to see, after the studies are done and all this, if this actually happens. And will it happen to every school in your district and in our state? This will help us accomplish it quickly and completely. And there's nothing better, I don't think, we can do for our children. So please consider that. We've got $1.3 billion, and we're deciding how can we best use that. School safety has to be on that list. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from the 52nd Delegate Row to close debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, very much. Hey, what you didn't hear was that there's any money to fix the schools. There was no statement that, oh, it's on page 43 of the, or 53 or 116 or something, that don't worry, it's there. It's not. Now, it's $80 million, and you know, when you go through this budget, this is kind of reminiscent of the change that you have in the couch cushions that you need when you got to pay the pizza guy when he comes. This is chump change. $80 million is chump change for what is necessary for us to be ready to fix and repair our schools to make them safe. This is an important. Now, you say, well, wait a minute, this money would not be there until July. Right. The School Safety and Security Division of Homeland Security can make the evaluation of all the schools in the state by July 1st. If they've got the $80 million, then they can make grants to the School Building Authority. How long will that take? Not that long, because most of the plans will be similar. And we can actually start construction during this coming budget year. We could have most all of the schools made safe by the time we come back for another budget, because this would be money payable from July 1st all the way around through the next section, and then to June 30 of 2024. So this gives us the opportunity to put the money there, and if it's not used, okay. It can be reappropriated, or something can be done later on. Let me mention that in Kanawha County, that we had a school levy in November, and they included school safety in the levy, And in talking with those folks, they think that you can probably do it for maybe $100,000 per school, at least in Kanawha. That's only $5 million. We may not need the 80. We may be having money left over, hooray. But if we don't put it in the budget now, it won't be there. And you say, well, we could do a supplemental maybe or something. Yeah, but when are we going to come back into session to vote a supplemental? Why do we do that? Why not spend the money where it needs to be spent? I'd urge the members to vote in favor of the amendment. Thank you, sir.
The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? All those in favor of it, roll call has been demanded. Is the demand sustained? The demand is sustained. All those members in favor of the amendment will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, the yeas are 15, the nays are 76, 9 members absent and not voting. A majority of the members present not having voted in the affirmative, I declare the amendment rejected. The clerk will report the next amendment.
Delegates Scaff, Fluharty, and others move to amend the bill.
Is there objection to having the amendment explained in lieu of having it read? If not, Chair recognizes the gentleman from the 57th, Delegate Scaff, to explain the amendment.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Real brief, this will be a quick one, easy. First priority, right off the gate, after every obligation's paid for, we're putting $80 million aside, the PEIA budget. We spent 4 hours today talking about the importance of that, having money set aside. I'm just increasing that $100 million. Let's make it $180 million. Make it $180 million. We have the money now. Let's do it so we don't have to come back next year and have another 4-hour debate.
The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Is there a debate on the amendment? The gentleman from the 12th, Delegate Criss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. $80 million was appropriated in this, and the governor's introduced budget based on the agency's recommendation. And based on the bill that we passed earlier, I think this is sufficient funds to take care of it. So I urge rejection. Thank you.
Is there further debate on the amendment? If not, the gentleman from the 57th, Delegate Scaff, to close debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for all the work on the PEIA bill and what we did. But bottom line here, folks, is every year we're back here, we deplete that bucket, we fill it right back up. 80 million is sufficient enough for a year, but we have money now. We have money now. Let's fill it up. This will buy us a few years. Then we'll be back here, we'll be talking about it. It's never going to go away, you're right. But we have the money now. There's no guarantee we'll have it 2-3 years from now. We have it now. Everyone in here said what a priority these workers were, that we have to do something. I think we passed the bill today. We did something. Now, let's just stop managing 1 year at a time. We have the money now. Put this aside for 2 to 3 years out and show all those 230,000 people that we won't be right back here again raising premiums a year from now. We have the money. Doesn't hurt anything else. First priority, just up at $100 million, and let's go on from there. We already have over $1 billion this year, so what's another $100 million to a priority of PEIA? Go ahead and vote green and show those 230,000 people that we won't be back here raising your premiums again next year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? All those members in favor of the amendment will say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. No. Roll call has been demanded. Is the demand sustained? The demand is sustained. All those members in favor of the amendment will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, the yeas are 18, the nays are 72, 10 members absent and not voting. A majority of the members present not having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill or the amendment rejected. The clerk will please report the next amendment.
Delegates Rose, Scaff, and others move to amend the bill.
Is there objection to having the amendment explained in lieu of having it read? The chair hears none. The chair recognizes the gentleman from the 52nd, Delegate Rowe, to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment's pretty easy. It appears on page, it would be an item 422, and you can find it on page 198. All it does is to put $20 million away for the Department of Environmental Protection to run its reclamation of abandoned and dilapidated properties. They had $10 million last year. I don't see that amount in the budget. Maybe if the chair finds it, then that would be good. But this is $20 million where they give grants to communities, counties, and towns in order to take down dilapidated and abandoned buildings. It would be double what they spent last year. Last year they were able to get out the $10 million very quickly. There may be $800,000 that's left. But this is a really important program. This can provide match grants for other demolition programs for coalfield communities and so on. So I think it's really money well spent. Again, we have the money, it's there, and it ought to be used for what we need. And in our communities, we need to get these buildings down. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Is there a debate on the amendment? The gentleman from the 12th, Delegate Criss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The DEP, I urge rejection of the gentleman's amendment. The DEP has allocated $10 million to establish a pilot program for reclamation of abandoned property. As of the 20th of January, DEP is still not encumbered approximately $800,000 of what was allocated last year. We do not know the current status, recommends to expand. We've not heard back about expanding the program. As of January, there's still allocated funds for the pilot program, which is started in April. So I urge rejection of the gentleman's amendment.
The gentleman from the 76th, Delegate Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Knocking down dilapidated properties, this is about dignity of our communities, and this is one program, although it's a pilot program, that many communities where I'm from want to see expanded. We had, I think out of the ones that got grants this last year, the city of Mannington, where I'm from, has been able to use this program, and I think it's been able to knock down, or it's going to be able to knock down, about 20 buildings. And again, this isn't just, this is more than just the blight, it's also a safety issue. A lot of these places are dangerous habitats where people might be staying, and it's an opportunity for renewal. So I think this is a great opportunity with the money that we have to help small communities do something to regain that dignity, that respect, and I think this money and this increase will go a long way. So I urge passage. Thank you.
The gentleman from the 52nd, Delegate Rowe, to close debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, we need to have the money there to take the buildings down. You know, how much is left? $800,000. And they've already put out the proposal for that. The problem that DEP had was that it didn't have administrative funds, and so they didn't really have the ability to go out to the small, really small communities that do not have demolition programs to get them into position to be able to get grants for demolition of their properties. Because you have to, there's a lot of requirements. You have to have certain ordinances in your city code. You've got to have an attorney to help you with this and that, and legal title. There's a whole lot of rigmarole that goes with taking these buildings down. And it's my understanding that the Senate put a $1.5 million grant to an organization to go around and actually provide assistance to small communities that have not had a demolition program so that they can get set up to have the demolition program. Well, who's going to pay for it? All this amendment does is provide DEP, who can do a pretty good job of it, to take down abandoned structures, both residential and commercial. It's a real important thing to do. Think about your own communities. Unless you're very fortunate, I know that in eastern Kanawha County we have lots of abandoned buildings, and we really need this kind of program and this kind of money to be able to help us. So I hope the members will vote in favor of the amendment.
Not that they will.
The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Roll call has been demanded. Is the demand sustained? The demand is sustained. Those members in favor of the amendment will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, the yeas are 15, the nays are 74, 11 members absent and not voting. A majority of the members present not having voted in the affirmative, I declare the amendment rejected. The clerk will report the next amendment.
Delegate Young moves to amend the bill.
Is there objection to having the amendment explained in lieu of having it read? The chair hears none. The gentlelady from the 56th, Delegate Young, to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, everybody. This one is at the very, very end of the budget. This will be my 6th time trying it, so maybe it'll work out. It's just putting $50,000 at the end of the budget to install video cameras in the committee rooms. I think our committee rooms should be broadcasted with video because the audio is confusing for a lot of people, and it would also save the video recordings so people can go back and watch them. So I hope you'll support the amendment.
The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Is there debate on the amendment? The gentleman from the 12th, Delegate Criss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House recently updated their audio and chamber system at a cost of $160,000 to that. The estimates at the time for cameras to be added and be able to do the streaming equipment was going to be about $50,000 per committee room at the time. So I urge rejection of the lady's amendment.
The gentleman from the 22nd, Delegate Lidville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Several times this year we've had folks testify to our committees via video technology, and we're unable to allow those individuals to see the members of the committee. In addition to that, there has been a number of times since I've been a member of this legislature wherein there's been some controversy as to what someone actually said during the committee while they were under oath. And at times, if we don't keep those recordings, it's actually a crime to lie to the legislature. You can look it up in Chapter 4. It's also perjury and perhaps false swearing when folks do that. If we don't keep that archived, it's completely impossible for us to hold folks to account if they come in here and mislead your legislature. And so I think out of respect for the body and out of the position which the gentlelady has placed this in the surplus section, would not prevent any of our other priorities, I would urge adoption of the gentlelady's amendment.
The gentleman from the 27th, Delegate Griffith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just ask as we consider this, if anyone has observed what happens in the government organization every time a guest speaker tries to address the group. It doesn't work. The batteries are dead or there's some other problem, and we all want transparency and accuracy. I don't see how we could do any better than to allow the public to see what we're doing here. So please support the amendment.
The gentleman from the 97th, Delegate Hardy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to this amendment. All of our committees are streamed live. They are stored on thumb drives. They are accessible if anyone wants to come back and listen to those. That is always easily obtained. So for those reasons, I would rise in opposition to this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from the 5th, Delegate Fluharty.
Will the gentleman yield real quick from 97th, Vice Chair?
Will the gentleman from the 97th yield?
Sure, my friend.
Yields.
Did you just say that the committee meetings, the audio is stored?
Yes.
Okay, stored where?
I believe it's stored on thumb drives.
Thumb drives. So the public has no access to them unless they physically come to the Capitol? Where are they stored?
I'm sorry, they're stored in our internal systems, and they can email to request to get a copy of that.
So they can't just go and access the public records of these committee meetings, which are public?
As I stated, they can email and ask for a copy of this.
Okay, so they have to actually contact the House via email.
They would have to do their due diligence to ask the legislature for a
Okay,
copy.
so we're not making it readily available. They must come
It's
to us
readily
for it.
available as the meetings are being as they're ongoing.
Okay, but they're not archived and accessible to the public unless they come to the or email or come to the Capitol.
They are more than welcome to email and
Okay.
ask for that. They are stored within our internal systems. They can get a copy of them.
The chair mentioned upgrades to the video system and things of that nature that recently were done. Is that also something that is archived that they have to come and get? The video of our daily, whatever we're doing down here today. It's not archived, is it?
I don't think it is.
That's right. It's not.
Right.
So it wasn't part of the upgrade.
Is there a question? You
I was
asked me?
wondering, I'm asking if it was archived.
I don't think it is, but I think the gentleman knows the answer to the question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for yielding.
Thank you.
Very briefly, I don't know why we would not support such a maneuver. The Senate seems to be able to do it with fewer people, and they don't even meet as often as we do. We have a lot of work that's going on, very important work. It's not accessible. I went back to try to look at the video from the other night, and it's not available. It's gone. Poof. 24 hours. We just stream it, and then it's gone. I can't even access what we do here on the House chamber is not accessible to the public. And we're a public body. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This is all about transparency and keeping us in check and good government. So I don't know why we would not support such a maneuver and support the amendment. Thank you.
The gentleman from the 44th, Delegate Kirby.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would the lady from the 56 yield for a question, please?
Will the gentlelady yield?
Sure.
The gentlelady yields.
Gentlelady, thank you. Does the Senate have this type of technology you're asking for?
Yes.
Does the Senate record and post all of their videos from their sessions
Yes.
and from their committees?
Yep.
Are you aware of any issues that has created that body?
Nope.
Thank you.
The gentlelady from the 56th, Delegate Young, to close debate on the amendment.
Am I on? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Interesting debate. My friend from the 97th said that you can email and get a copy of the audio from a committee. I actually tried to do that today to get a copy of audio from a committee yesterday, and they couldn't email it because the file's too big. They'd sent it to me on Teams, which I don't know that the whole public has. So not the members of this body can't even get copies of audio recordings. If it costs $50,000 per room, let's start with one. Why don't we do that? The Senate did it for $50,000 for the entire Senate. They've never had any issues. They store it themselves. We wouldn't even necessarily have to store it ourselves. There's websites like YouTube that store it for free. So I don't know why we wouldn't do this. I think it's good government. I think it's transparency. And I ask for the yeas and nays, Mr. Speaker.
The yeas and nays have been demanded. Is the demand sustained? The demand is sustained. The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? All those members in favor of the amendment will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, the yeas are 40, the nays are 53. 7 members absent and not voting. A majority of the members present not having voted in the affirmative, I declare the amendment rejected. Are there further amendments? If not, the bill will be engrossed. The clerk will please read the bill a third time.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2024, Budget Bill, making appropriations of public money out of the Treasury in accordance with Section 51, Article 6 of the Constitution.
The gentleman from the 12th, Delegate Criss, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for indulging me for an hour or so on each line item. Seems to be the custom of this House to do that. And I do appreciate the staff that helped put that together and the long work that we do behind the scenes to present this budget. I think the opportunity for you as we went through it is there. I think the opportunity to pass something that we can keep the state of West Virginia moving forward is before you. So I urge adoption.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those members in favor of the bill will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, the yeas are 87, the nays are 7, 6 members absent and not voting. A majority of the members present having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2024, budget bill making appropriations of public money out of the Treasury in accordance with Section 51, Article 6 of the Constitution.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The gentleman from the 96th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the bill take effect July 1, 2023.
The question is...
Wait a minute, Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill take effect from passage.
The gentleman from the 96th moves that the bill take effect from passage. Is there a debate on the amendment? If not, all those in favor of the motion, is there debate on the motion? If not, the question is, shall the bill take effect from its passage? All those members in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. How will the gentleman like to be recorded? In the affirmative. The clerk will please mark the gentleman from the 62nd as voting in the affirmative. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. The yeas are 92, the nays are 1. 7 members absent and not voting. 2/3 of the members elected to the House having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill will take effect upon passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate and request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 423, increasing salary for certain state employees.
The objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having it read. If not, gentleman the 12th to explain the bill.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. The bill increases the annual salaries of members of Okay. The bill increases the annual salaries of members of the West Virginia State Police, public school teachers, public service personnel beginning July 1, 2023. The salary schedule set forth in this statute as follows. For professional educators and professional student support personnel, collectively teachers, $2,300 an increase in annual pay based on a 200-day per year contract. For public school service personnel, $230 / $115 increase on monthly pay. Note, the 230/115 difference is because a service personnel contract is to work more than 3.5 hours a day. The raise is $230 a month. Others for 3.5 hours or less is $115 a month. For members of the state police and certain civil forensic lab personnel, $2,300 annual pay. Unlike in prior years where the pay raise for education and state employees were effectively given across the board pay raise approximately a 5% on the average of their respective group aggregate salaries. Likewise, the state police were given an across the board pay raise equal to approximately 5% on the average across state employee aggregate salaries, except last year when the state police got a $10,000 per raise. This provides for a $2,300 per year pay raise for all of them. All salary increases in this bill will become effective July 1, 2023. I urge passage.
Ladies and gentlemen, this bill was advanced to third reading with the general right to amend yesterday. So at this time, the chair will ask the clerk to please report the first of the amendments.
The Committee on Finance moves to amend the bill, beginning on page 12.
Are there objections to having the amendment explained in lieu of having it read? If not, the chair will recognize the gentleman of the 12th, Criss, to explain the amendment.
The amendment would correct a transposition number that would have inadvertently given state police personnel as administrative support specialist class 6 less than the $2,300 raise everyone else was going to get. And the chairman of finance didn't do that since I was dyslexic. Sorry about that. I didn't do it. Urge adoption. Thank you.
Question is, shall the amendment be adopted? The gentleman from 52nd Nugget Row. Is there debate on the amendment explained by the gentleman on the 12th? If not, those in favor of adoption of the amendment will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. The chair declares that amendment adopted. The clerk will please report the next amendment.
Delegate Criss moves to amend the bill on page 3, section 5, line 44, following the Roman numeral 6, by striking out the numbers 65,242, or no, by striking out the number 67,524 and inserting in lieu thereof the numbers 67,524, 542.
The question's on the amendment just read by the clerk. The question again is on the amendment just read by the clerk. Is there debate on the amendment read by the clerk? If not, those in favor of adoption of this amendment will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. The chair declares that amendment adopted. The clerk will please report the next amendments.
Delegate Foggin moves to amend the bill on page 9, line 10, by striking subsections C and D and relettering the remaining subsections accordingly.
The question is on the amendment just read by the clerk. Is there debate on this amendment? The amendment is open for debate. Does the gentleman wish to speak on the amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman is recognized.
Yes, I don't know if I need to ask for a Rule 49 right now, being a school teacher.
Let's deal with that globally.
Okay.
For all those members of the body who seek a ruling by the chair pursuant to House Rule 49 as to your eligibility to vote on the bill or all underlying amendments to the bill, please press your voting buttons at this time to be registered with the clerk. All members who wish a ruling by the chair pursuant to House Rule 49, please press your voting button now. The clerk will please close the machine and log those members having sought a ruling under Rule 49. It will be the ruling of the chair that all members who have sought such a ruling are similarly situated and constitute a class of greater than 5 individuals and therefore are eligible to vote on this and all questions related to the bill. Which brings us back again to the primary amendment read by the clerk. Gentleman from the 14th, the sponsor, Delegate Foggin, is recognized for debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment would strike language that gives a math teacher or a special ed teacher a 3-year increase in pay over every other teacher. When's the last time you listened to a radio? Maybe thank a choir teacher. Watched a movie, maybe the drama teacher. Looked at artwork around here, maybe the art teacher. Used the legislative process, maybe a history teacher, social studies teacher. When's the last time you read a bill? Maybe an English teacher. When's the last time you did a geometric proof? Solved a matrix, found the derivative or integral of a function. This is a non-discriminatory amendment. There's some tension amongst staffs of different schools because certain people are singled out as being more important than others. I just ask that we strike that out and make all the teachers pay the same. That's all. Thank you.
Question again is on the amendment read by the clerk. The gentleman from the 12th, Delegate Criss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I urge rejection of the amendment for the purposes of the teacher's salary schedule. This amendment would eliminate 3 additional years of experience incentive for 1, classroom teachers providing math instruction in teachers' certified area of study for at least 60% of the time the teachers provided instruction to students, and for number 2, classroom teachers certified in special ed and employed as a full-time teacher special ed teacher. I urge rejection.
Gentleman from number 38, Douglas Ellington is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm also going to urge rejection of this. This incentive was given for shortage areas for both math teachers and special ed teachers. We're talking about roughly 3,600 teachers that receive this 3-year step increase at the present time. And again, since these are continue to be shortage areas, I would recommend that we can continue the incentive and oppose the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 98, Douglas Espinoza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the education chair yield?
Yes, sir.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the legislature in previous sessions, we have voted to provide these incentives in order to help fill these hard-to-fill positions. Am I correct?
I believe this was in 2018, be effective in 19.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, this amendment effectively would prevent the legislature from fulfilling its commitment that was made by the legislature to provide these incentives to help fill these hard-to-fill positions. I'd urge rejection of the gentleman's amendment.
Gentleman from the 20th, Douglas Foster is recognized.
Thank you. Does the Chair of Education yield?
Yes, sir.
If I'm not mistaken, would this effectively lower the pay of math teachers around
It
the state?
would, approximately $1,500 to $1,600 a year.
All right. Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentleman of the 12th, Douglas Criss, speak recognition?
Point of order, sir. Noticing that this amendment takes in special ed teachers, my daughter is a special ed teacher in Weir County, and I suggest a Rule 49.
The chair has granted Rule 49 exemption to all members of the body who sought it. Did the gentleman seek?
No, sir, I didn't realize until I saw the amendment.
Understood. Well, under that set of facts, then it will be the ruling of the chair that the gentleman does belong to a class of greater than 5 individuals and therefore is eligible to vote on this question.
Thank you,
Gentleman
sir.
from the 14th, Douglas Falk, is recognized again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask the gentleman from the 38th to yield for a question, please.
Yes, sir.
I try to make decisions based on data. Could you provide me with data in the last 3 years that the number of math teachers have gone up because of this?
That I can't say. What I can tell you is numbers that were provided to me. There was a total of 3,594 teachers currently receiving the 3-year step increase. 1,288 of those are math teachers, 2,288 are special ed, and 18 are considered certified both.
Thank you. So you can't provide data that shows me the number went up because we increased pay for a math teacher. Would the delegate from the 98th yield for a question?
Certainly, my friend.
Can you provide data to me that proves the number of math teachers are going up?
I cannot. I don't have access, or at least readily available. What I can say is, as I alluded to during my questioning with the education chair, the legislature has made this commitment to provide these step increases for these hard-to-fill positions. So I see it really as a question of, are we going to fulfill that commitment that this legislature has made? And I regrettably believe that if adoption of your amendment would preclude the legislature from fulfilling that commitment. So that's why I've urged rejection.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I think the legislature also made a commitment on PEIA, and you didn't mind going against that commitment. But you don't have any data. No one has any data to show that the number of math teachers needed has gone down. That's all I'm asking for, is to make a data-driven decision. I like data. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 40th, Douglas Cooper is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A little history on what we're talking about here. When I first came here years ago, I introduced a bill to do just what we're talking about today, and it took until 2018, I believe it was, in Senate Bill 205, those things were rolled into it for special ed, science, I believe, and math. Of course, there's no data to see if it's improved, but how many people remained teaching? How many people stayed teaching math? And especially, ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Speaker, we have dozens, if not hundreds, of special ed certified teachers who are not teaching in that field. And so there is no data to say how many of them have returned to that field because they're still employed by the same school system, so there's really no records we can track here. But I would say at this point, let's reject this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question still is on the amendment read by the clerk. Is there debate on the amendment read by the clerk? If not, chair will recognize the sponsor, gentleman the 14th, to close debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity. Without any data to back up the claim that we have more math teachers now, or more special ed teachers now, because of the 3-year bump on seniority pay, I'd like to urge adoption, so all teachers are paid the same amount.
Debate on the amendment has been closed. Question before the House is adoption of the amendment. Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. No. The noes have it. Chair declares that amendment lost. The clerk will please report the next amendment.
Delegate Foggin moves to amend the bill on page 9, line 17, after the period by inserting the following. Math instruction includes a teacher providing physics and chemistry instruction.
The question is on the amendment read by the clerk. Chair will recognize the sponsor, a gentleman from the 14th, Delegate Foggin, to open debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment would recognize that someone who teaches physics or chemistry also teaches math 60% of the time. That's it.
Gentleman from the 97th, Delegate Hardy.
Mr. Speaker, without going into too much detail and embarrassing anybody, I rise in opposition to this amendment because this could be one of the most self-serving amendments I've ever seen before in my life. So therefore, I rise in opposition to the gentleman's amendment.
Gentleman from the 99th, Delegate Clark, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise against the amendment, and the sponsor of the amendment just earlier said that he wanted to reduce the service so all teachers are paid the same, but now he wants to include other teachers so they're paid more. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense, and I urge rejection of the amendment.
Gentleman from the 38th, Delegate Ellington, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, I'm going to urge rejection of this amendment also. Math instruction is very important in physics and chemistry. A significant portion of both of those subjects includes mathematics. However, we just passed a budget that is set as far as the state aid formula. If we change this or approve this, then we have to go back and change that. So I think that would be a little more of a concern. However, I will note, I had House Bill 2828, which was to increase the starting salary of all of our teachers to the 50th percentile from our surrounding states, and that would go from $36,695 up to $44,000 starting salary, and I intend to do that next year, so that may solve the problem for the gentleman in the future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question still is on the amendment read by the clerk. Is there debate on the amendment as read by the clerk? If not, chair will recognize the sponsor to close debate on the amendment.
Speaker, that'll be it.
Okay, the question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment, roll call is demanded. Is the demand sustained? Demand is sustained. Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there are 15 ayes, 79 nays, 6 members absent, less than a majority in the affirmative. The chair declares the amendment lost. Clerk will please report the next amendment.
Delegate Foggin moves to amend the bill on page 9, line 19, after the word superintendent by inserting the words or licensed as a speech-language pathologist.
The question is on the amendment just read by the clerk. Chair will recognize the sponsor, gentleman of the 14th, to open debate on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This would include the special ed teachers, speech-language pathologists as special ed teachers and give them the same benefits as the section does to all other special ed teachers.
The Question is still on the amendment read by the clerk. Gentleman from the 34th, Douglas Dean, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll stand in support of the amendment. Speech pathologists do IEPs. They do all the work that special ed teachers do for their students, so I think they should qualify. Thank you.
Is there other debate on the amendment as read by the clerk? Gentleman from the 38th, Douglas Ellington, is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, at this time, I'm going to probably recommend also that we reject this particular amendment at this time. This has been a subject that's been before us in the past years. It is an important issue, but I think this needs to be corrected into the coming session, and not at this time. Again, we're going to change the state aid formula at this point. We just approved the budget. That's just going to cause some more muddy in the waters on that. So I would urge rejection at this particular time, but I think this is something to be entertained in the future. Thank you.
Again, the question is on the amendment read by the clerk. Is there other debate on the amendment as read by the clerk? If not, Chair will recognize the sponsor to close debate on the amendment. The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate it. That's all.
The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will please say aye. Roll call is demanded. Is the demand sustained? Demand is sustained. The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 25 ayes, 68 nays, 7 members absent, less than a majority in the affirmative. The chair declares the amendment lost. Are there other amendments to the bill?
Delegates Fluharty, Scaff, and others move to amend the bill.
Are there objections to allowing this amendment to be explained in lieu of having it read? No objections are heard. Chair recognize the sponsor, the gentleman from the 5th, to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment's very simple. So since we know that this increasing salary for certain state employees is not actually an increase because we're going to take all that money back, which we just voted on a little bit ago, this actually is an increase. $2,300 across the board for our teachers, school service personnel, state police, starting in 2024. So pretty simple. It's the actual increase. Right now we have the fake increase. This is the real increase via this amendment. And I'll reserve the right to close and ask for yeas and nays. Thank you.
Question is on the amendment as just explained by the sponsors. Gentleman from the 12th, Douglas Criss, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I urge rejection of the gentleman's amendment. The $2,300 that is in this pay schedule is forever. It's a base build. It's going to be there forever. And allowing another pay increase for next year at this time is not the right way to do that. Let us bring this forward, if you so desire, next year based upon the economy and based on the collections of tax revenues for the state, and we can discuss it at that time. So I urge rejection of the gentleman's amendment.
Gentleman from the 50th, Douglas Pritt, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I mean, we just did a pay raise for the governor and the Board of Public Works, so, you know, we have the money now. There's no guarantee we will after we pass this tax cut bill. We might end up like Kansas, have to come back in here and pass more taxes just to fix the mess we've made. We have it now. It's guaranteed now. Let's give it now. Vote yes.
Question still is on the amendment as explained by the sponsors. Is there debate on the amendment? If not, Chair will recognize the sponsor to close debate on the amendment.
The gentleman just said, we went ahead and said, hey, in 2025, the governor gets more money, the state auditor gets more money, the attorney general gets more money, and we're saying today our teachers, educators, state police, they get a little bit of money now that we're going to take away from them, and you get no money in the future. That's what we're doing. So what this amendment does is actually gives them a reality of seeing money in their pockets instead of the government handing it to them and taking it right back, which we're doing today. This would be an actual increase to their salary, actual return on the investment they've been making to this state, so they can actually use it instead of just handing it right back. So, you know, we need to probably change the title of that as well, because it's not really an increasing salary if you're going to take it right back. But, you know, that's how we do things. Yeas and nays. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Debate on the amendment has been closed. Is the roll call to vote demand sustained? The amendment is sustained. The question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. There are 18 ayes, 73 nays, 9 members absent. Less than a majority in the affirmative. The chair declares that amendment lost. Are there other amendments to the bill? If not, the clerk will please read the bill a third time. Before the clerk reads the bill a third time, for the benefit of all members, the gentleman from the 12th, Delegate Criss, explained the first of the 2 amendments considered today. Both amendments were adopted. Chair and the clerk are informed that when the chairman presented the 2 amendments, they were presented transposed. So the explanation for the first amendment was given second, and the explanation for the second amendment was given first. At this time, would any member like to reconsider the votes taken on either of the first 2 amendments? If not, the votes on those 2 amendments will stand. Clerk will please read the bill a third time.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 423, increasing salary for certain state employees.
The question now before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 94th, Delegate Kump, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Permission to speak?
Gentleman is recognized.
I'm voting yea, but I wish it was more.
Gentleman from the 52nd, Delegate Rowe, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the chair would answer a question or two.
Surely will, my friend.
Now, we're giving pay raises in this bill, but do you know if there will be pay raises to the people who are paid out of special revenues included in the budget?
We anticipate they'll be included.
Okay. There were a number of cuts to higher education. I just wondered if those were cuts of the pay raises to higher education.
That was the 5% that the governor had acknowledged in his budget bill, and all the reductions, where I read the reductions,
yes,
that was the 5% part that we did not take up 5% pay raises in our budget process.
So higher ed employees didn't get any pay raises?
No, sir, they did not, but they will participate. The ones that are covered by general revenue and that are state employees will participate in this $2,300.
Okay.
But not special revenues.
Okay. So if they made special revenues, they're in higher education, they don't get any pay raise at all?
That'll be up to the management of the particular colleges that have the ability to spend those special revenues and on their spending authority.
Okay, but we didn't give the higher education colleges or universities any money to do that with, right?
No, sir, we did not.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Gentleman from the 47th, Delegate Longenecker, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the chair of finance yield for me just a minute?
Sure will.
I
Thank you.
apologize, it's been a long day, but I got a quick question, sir. Just to be clear, the bill that we are voting on right now to increase salaries of those critical workers out there, if this bill should fail, then the previous bill that we passed, which raises their premiums, just simply comes out of their bottom line. So at the end of the day, we got to pass this bill so that they achieve that net neutral that the governor spoke of the other day. Is that correct?
That's correct, part of the package.
Thank you.
Question still is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 12th wish to close debate on the bill? If not, the question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There are 94 ayes, 0 nays, and 6 members absent. Majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares that bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 423, increasing salary for certain state employees.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Gentleman from the 96th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the bill take effect July 1, 2023.
The question is on the gentleman's motion that the bill take effect July 1st, 2023. Those in favor of the gentleman's motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 93 ayes, 0 nays, and 7 members absent, 2/3 of members having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill effective July 1st, 2023. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Let's return to consideration of Senate messages.
The clerk of the Senate announces that the Senate has passed, with amendment and title amendment, committee substitute for House Bill 2526 relating to reducing the personal income tax.
That message should be received. Gentleman from 96th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration.
Gentleman from 96th asked unanimous consent to take the bill up for immediate consideration. Are there objections? Objection is heard.
Mr. Speaker, I move.
Gentleman from 96 moves that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration. Those in favor of taking the bill up for immediate consideration will please say aye. Aye. Those opposed will please say no. No. The ayes appear to have it.